Dave the Victor Will, your older than average YouTuber, here for another video, and it happens to be a palette build. Are you nostalgic? Were you looking at the new Too Faced X Pop Tarts? If you wanted to see what shadows I used to build the palette, what colors I used to make this look, you're in the right place. And you know what you need to do? You need to keep on watching. Hey, are we ready to build this palette? I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm building this palette and then a little bit of history on Pop-Tarts. So I'm Gen X, and Pop-Tarts were a big part of my childhood because it was easy for my parents, you know, like Saturdays mornings, your bowl of cereal or pop some Pop-Tarts. It was a thing. So that kind of made me a little nostalgic when I saw this palette. But looking at the palette and the colors, I knew this was something that I had, and I'm on a no-buy, and I shouldn't just break down for nostalgia, though it was very tempting. And I have to admit, as a child, making probably the strawberry ones, tried to burn my parents' kitchen down. I was watching cartoons, I popped it in the toaster, but I didn't notice that the toaster was not popping up right away because I was busy watching cartoons, and then in the meantime it started to burn, and it had burnt paint under my mom's counter. It had all like bubbled up. She was not impressed with me, so I was not allowed to make Pop-Tarts anymore unless I was in the kitchen basically staring at the toaster and wasn't being waylaid by anything else, especially cartoons. So there's quite the history to the Pop-Tarts. I thought there wasn't that. I thought it would just be a little bit. It started here, but no. So basically, in 1963 is when it started, and it was the chairman of Kellogg's had a vision, and he wanted to make breakfast toaster ready, and that you could just take it anywhere. So it says here that he hit up Doc Joe Thompson and his kitchen crew to create an ingenious hack on toast and jam, and it was originally called the Fruit Scone, but terrible. That's a terrible branding name, and they understood that. So they said that they took the inspiration from the pop culture movement of the day and renamed it Pop-Tarts. So there we go. They're tarts. They pop up. I think that fits perfectly. And then apparently in 1964, these were in Ohio. So Ohio, it says here in Cleveland, Ohio, the Pop-Tarts hit the world with the original Fab Four, and they released in the 4 original flavors, which was strawberry, blueberry, brown sugar, cinnamon, and apple currant. And then since literally no one has ever seen a currant, which is a lie, I ate a lot of them when I was a kid. My parents had them in the garden. They dropped that flavor, and then they came back with the apple Pop-Tart. So then in 1965, it went nationwide. They decided that Pop-Tarts were too big for just one state to handle, so they released it countrywide. And then in 1967, it was Pop-Tarts Get Icy, and they added frosting on the outside. So it says here the year they cracked the deck of Pop-Tart toaster pastries out in frosting that kept its cool when toasted. And it did, unless you toasted them for too long and tried to burn your mother's kitchen down, but I digress. And then in 1968, it says the time to shine. The latest stop of Innovation Station was the introduction of sugar sparkled frosting. You know them better as sprinkles. And then it says here in 1971, the Spoke Toaster was born, and it says a mascot to rally our fans, so they introduced Milton the Toaster. While his star shined bright, he didn't last long. And then 1973, Sweet 19. Over the years, our world-changing frosted poems to snacking grew from 4 delicious flavors to the sweet addition of 19. The glow up was real. And then it says in the 1980s, big, bigger, biggest, our frosted icons became so popular that 8 in a box just wasn't enough anymore. So what do? We hit them with 12. And boom, then 24. And then in 1994, oh, I remember this, Pop-Tart Crunch, the cereal the world deserved. And this is the word on the street was people were breaking their Pop-Tarts into pieces and eating them with milk. I don't think I ever did that. So we decided to release a cereal toasted to perfection and true to its taste. And then, where this is going there, yeah. So then 2004, the tastiest tagline, Crazy Good, was developed as an ode to a new generation's passion for Pop-Tarts. Before we knew it, everybody was using the phrase Crazy Good. In 2007, voraciously devoured visuals. From the logos of your favorite sports teams to copyrighted characters whose names we can no longer actually use, our next innovation was printed fun frosting Pop-Tarts and was really a sight to behold. And then half a century in the game and still shaking things up, it was an anniversary to remember, a signal to our fans that we're nowhere near slowing down. And then 2018, tiny bites, massive taste. Pop-Tarts were already amazing, but what if you could hold more in your hand? Problem solved. Don't be fooled by these snackable Pop-Tart bites. Maybe tiny, but they're packed with big flavor. So there we go. And then as of today, it says here, you never know what's going to come out of our test kitchen. So there we go. There's a little bit of me fumbling through the history of Pop-Tarts, but I do remember them being a big thing when I was a kid, and they were too easy if you were out to play for the day. Like, who needed a toaster? You just took them out of the package, you threw them in your knapsack or whatever, and you could just have them as a snack. I think I probably in the end ate more untoasted than I ate toasted Pop-Tarts. So there we go. There is our little bit of history on Pop-Tart. Okay, so now on to the collab between Too Faced and Tarte Cosmetics. I've never had any Too Faced eyeshadows, so I don't know their quality. I've seen tons of reviews. Most of the time, their color stories are things that I already have. They're definitely more of your everyday person eyeshadow palettes, but I'm usually more of a crazy eye look person. But I have to say, I really love Too Faced powder products. I was a big fan of their powder foundation before they discontinued my favorite one, but it was my favorite. I've liked bronzers that I've used from them. I've liked face powders that I've used. The Too Faced Better Than Sex eyeliner is one of my favorite eyeliners. The mascara is quite nice as well. So there are definitely a lot of Too Faced items that I like. But this palette, again, because of all the nostalgia with Pop-Tarts, I was kind of excited about it. So I didn't really mention it in new releases. I think it popped up after. And then I was looking for a palette to build, and I wasn't in the mood for something massive. So I thought eight pans is good. It's a color story that I think I can do, and it might help me not fall for the nostalgia and pick up this palette, which is available now if you are interested. So let's build this palette. There are 8 shades, and I think I used 6 different palettes to get the 8 shades, but I wanted to get as close as possible as I could. And again, as always, the photos may not, because of lighting, look as close as when I show it to you here, and then when I swatch it to the actual palette. And then of course, as always, at the end of the video, I'll have my comparisons there. So I thought at first I was going to be able to use this whole palette to do it, but some of the shades, only a few of the shades ended up being as close as I wanted to be. So the first 2 shades are actually from Louise's Beauty in the Breakup, and it is this lovely palette here that I was gifted as part of a birthday present from my friend Wilma, and it is this palette here. And the 2 shades that we've got here is number 1 is the shade that is called by Felicia, and that is this second shade here. So I'm just going to take some on my finger like so, and then as always we're just going to swatch it on a bare skin. And this was a shade number 1 from the palette. So it's basically a nice neutral blending out shade. It is a pretty light-ish palette. There are a few, I wouldn't call them dark, but mid-tones. But if you're looking for like a black or something really dark, it's not in this palette. But this is, back in the day, the shade that I would have probably used the most, because I blended it out or set my primer with it. So there we go. And then the second shade, we did the Chow Forever, and that is this pinkish shade here. And then that's the second shade. And there we go. Here, let me just do another swatch. Again, there we go. So that's the first two swatches. I always want to get closer, but I always seem to be a finger width apart. But lucky this is a small palette. So those were the two shades from Beauty in the Breakup. So the next shade was, oh no, I had a third one in there. Well, there you go. Anyways, the third shade is from Ace Beaute, and this is from the Blossom palette. And it is this gorgeous color story here. I got it in a mystery box. And the shade Desire, which is this shade here, which is what I thought was the perfect shade for number 3. And oh, that was a little bit closer. And there we go. There is shade number 3. And that is Desire from the Ace Beaute Blossom Passion. I'm gonna call it Blossom Buddies. I don't know why, but it's Blossom Passion. There we go. So then next up for shade number 4, this is a palette that I need to use some more because I wanted it so bad and I finally got it. And this is from NOCTEX. This is the Antiquity palette, but it is definitely a more grungy palette here. And from here we use the shade called Widow, which is that one right there. So we're gonna go and grab Widow here, and then we're gonna pop that. And this is one of the darker shades in the palette. And there we go. So that is NOCTEX Antiquity in Widow. And again, it is that palette there. Now for shade number 5, we're going back into Beauty in the Breakup. So there we go. And we're going to use the shade called See You Never. And where is it? There we go. See You Never is that shade right there. Pop that there. So it is another neutral shade in there. And there we go. That one is just a little bit cooler of a shade. So there is See You Never, again, P. Louise and Beauty in the Breakup. So then for the 6th shade, we went to a palette that we've seen here. I actually think most of these so far have been new palettes in my palette build, so that's exciting. But I think we've used this one a few times before. And this is from the Garden of Juvias by Juvias Place, and it is the shade called Peony. This is actually the hardest shade for me to find. Most of them were either a little bit too light or a little bit more maybe corally. It was hard to kind of find the right pink, but I think this is the closest one, number 6, Peony. We're gonna pop that right there. There we go. So this is a nice colored palette. You got some neutrals and you got some pinks. So I think you can, again, you can make a neutral look and then you can make light and pinky looks. So there we go. That was number 6, Peony. And again, that was the Garden of Juvias from Juvias Place. So then from number 7, this is going to come from an interesting place here, and it is from Give Me Glow Cosmetics Haunted Pumpkin palette. It'd be weird to find in a pinky one, but the shade here, I'm using the one called Pumpkin Possession. This one was actually the hardest shade to find. Like I said, the pink, I had to dig a few palettes, but this one was definitely, and when you look at it, it doesn't in the palette look like it'd be the right color, but when I look at the swatches, which again I'll have around here somewhere, for the Too Faced palette, this ended up being the closest color. So again, this is Pumpkin Possession from Give Me Glow Cosmetics and the Haunted Pumpkin palette. And then last up for number 8 is one of my favorite brands, which I'm hoping they're going to have something soon. I think if they did and it was good, I'd break my no buy for. And that is Lois Cosmetics, and this is the Rose Metal palette. And the shade that we picked here is Hopeless Romantic. So that is the shade that I felt was the closest in our palettes here. So you're basically 7 mattes and 2 kind of shimmery shades. And there we go. So, oh, one more time, Rose Metal, Lois Cosmetics. And there we go. So that was nice and easy. 8 shades. So I'm going to take a picture of my swatches. I'm going to grab some brushes and then we can put on an eye look. So we'll be right back. Photos taken, swatches removed, and now we're ready to do some eye priming. So we're going to do the paint base from Colored Rain. I swear I had a kimchi white one, but if I did, maybe I finished it. So we are going to go with this. I'm just going to pop a little bit on my hand. This is the first time using it. This one I got in a mystery box. I thought since most of the colors were kind of light in here, to maybe use a lighter base to get, I thought maybe we can use just a brighter base to showcase those lighter colors instead of my Rumor 2 that I've been panning. Because as we all know, I broke it. So it's all right, there we go. So we've got some nice white base on. So the first shade I thought we could use, let me find some little floofy. We're gonna go into the Antiquity palette and we're gonna use the shade Widow, and we're just gonna do that along the outer corner. Beautiful dark shades. So this is one of the darker shades in the palette. It's been kind of fun using up a lot of my products, you know, base products and stuff, and then playing with some shadows. That's the thing also with doing these Beaute palettes. It gives you a chance to play with some palettes that you've not played with in a long time. Alrighty, so there we go. We've got Widow, which is the darkest shade in here. I'm just going to do a quick look today. Now, what other color did we want to use? I really kind of liked, it's the shade that they called, it's a cross between Berry Juicy and Sugar Coated. Berry Juicy is definitely more of a berry color. So that is the third color on the list. So that is Ace Beaute's The Passion from the Blossom palette. Or I should say the Blossom Passion palette. We will use the shade called Desire, and that's this one here. And then we're going to use that for the middle part. There we are. So that is the shade Desire. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to play around with this. I might have to build and move some stuff around, but I want to take that lightest shade that was from the P. Louise, that kind of bone shade, and I want to kind of blend, oh, that's such a pretty color, kind of want to blend along the top a little bit with that. So we're going to go into Beauty in the Breakup, and then we're going to take that shade that was called by Felicia. So it's that one again, and we're just going to use that. This is the other reason why I always want to buy brushes all the time. After a while, some of them get a bit stained, and then you can't tell if they're clean or not, because they got stained by something that was purple or pink. I just wanted to kind of blend the edge here and blend it. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into the first 2 colors, and then I'm going to intensify, and then I'm just going to shape the edge a little. I want it rounded, but at the same time, I just like a little bit of a, to kind of show the shape of my eye a bit. I don't know, I seem to like that a little bit. Okay, so much for a totally rounded look, eh? But I just seem to really like going with the shape of my eye socket. I think it suits me. You can tell me if I'm wrong down below, but I think it does. Alrighty, so now I want to go into one of the lighter shades for the front part before going into a shimmer. So I think we are going to look at Frosted Strawberry. So shade number 2, which is Ciao Forever from the Beauty in the Breakup. Ciao Forever. So we're going to go into that one, and we're going to bring that just into the front a little bit before we put down our shimmery shade. Okay, and there we go. It's just a little bit bright in the front. And then for our shimmer shade, I think I'm going to go into the Lois Cosmetics, and we are going to use that beautiful shade called, what is it called? Hopeless Romantic. So that was that shade there. Spray. That's so pretty. Isn't that nice? Isn't that a beautiful shimmer? Then I'm going to fingers. These one, that color is beautiful. They're so soft to the touch. I really like the Lois Cosmetics formula. And there we go. Now there wasn't a super, except for that kind of bone toned one, a super bright shimmer. So I'm gonna see if one of these palettes, yeah, so I'm gonna go into Blossom in the Juvias place, and I'm just gonna put that on the inner corner. There we go, a little bit of bright in the inner corner. And then for the bottom lash line, I think I'm just going to do, well, let's start with the shade from the Antiquity palette. So we're going to start with that darker brown shade. That is Widow. And do some of that along the bottom. All right. So there we go. I'm just going to go and clean up, maybe put some mascara, eyeliner, and that sort of stuff. And I will be right. And here we go, our finished look. I just put on a little lip color, put on a little eyeliner, mascara, and that was it. So that was just a simple build, 8 shades using 6 palettes, but here we are. Of course, it's easier just to buy the palette. You don't have to go through that rigmarole. But if you have the colors, I mean, use what you have. I save the Benjamins. But if you love that Pop-Tart thing, the nostalgia is getting you. The color story is cute. Again, you can do a neutral look and some pink looks, I think, and a pink and neutral look. I think is all you're gonna get out of it. So probably 3 different types of looks. That's it. But it's a cute little palette. If you're a fan of Too Faced, knock yourself out. But I'm on a no-buy, so I thought I would just build it, and I will, of course, in the description box list all the colors and everything that I use, and if it's still if the palettes are still available, I will list that as well. So anyway, okay, I just thought I would show the palette that we are building in its entirety here, and then here is this, I guess, when you took them out of the pan, what they would actually look like. And then we've got the swatches on different skin tones, and this is what I use to kind of pull the colors. Here's my photos of the colors. They look different because of lighting, but when you compare here, you can definitely see it. But when you swatch them, I think I did pretty good this time. So anyways, that's it for me. Let me know if you were interested in that palette, or if you just thought it was just a hit of nostalgia and that was it for you. Let me know. But if you'd like to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe, and maybe even hit that notification bell, it'd be greatly appreciated. If not, that's okay. We can still be friends. We can still get nostalgic together. As always, behave, make good choices, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.